As a JRPG fan, there's a lot to be excited about for 2021. While 2020 was a pretty solid year for JRPGs in its own right, 2021 is shaping up to be quite the year as well. With so many great games coming our way, we thought it'd be helpful to make a list highlighting our most anticipated releases of the year. Keep in mind, this is just our most anticipated releases though, so just because a game isn't our particular cup of tea, doesn't mean it may not be yours. To account for this, we are going to include a list of honorable mentions at the end to showcase some of these titles. So, with all that said, let's just cut to the chase and dive into this video about 8 great JRPGs to look out for in 2021. To start this list off, we have the closest game to being released with Ys 9 Monstrum Knox. As a huge fan of both the Ys series and Falcom in general, Ys 9 is easily one of the JRPGs I'm looking forward to the most this year. Luckily, we don't have to wait too long either, as it's coming out at the beginning of February. The Ys series is best known for its fast and fluid, action-based gameplay, its exhilarating and wonderful music, and the charming worlds in which the games take place in. As one would expect, Monstrum Knox looks to be no exception. I do have to admit though, on first impression, I don't know if I like the darker, city vibe of this game as much as the tropical setting of the last entry, but I know that's more of a personal thing, as some people may prefer the setting of Monstrum Knox instead. Regardless, the Ys games never disappoint in either gameplay or exploration, so I know there's going to be a good time to be had there, all the same. Whether you're a longtime fan of this 30-year-old JRPG series like I am, or a newcomer looking to get their feet wet with these games for the first time, Monstrum Knox is shaping up to be a quality action RPG that you don't want to miss. The next game we have on our list is Bravely Default 2. Bravely Default 2 is technically the third game in the Bravely series, which, yes, I know is pretty confusing, but I guess the actual second game in the series, Bravely Second, wasn't as successful as they would have liked, so they wanted to branch away from that and associate more with the first game, which was a huge success. To be honest, this is a series I've never actually dove into, as the art style kind of turned me away a bit, and while this newest installment does retain that chibi-like style, I think the graphics are really well done, and I love how vibrant the world looks. The Bravely games have always best been known for the old-school traditional JRPG experience they provide through fun turn-based gameplay and an addicting class system, all the while including a lot of modern quality-of-life features to make it palatable for both old and new JRPG fans alike. Bravely Default 2 looks to be no different, and given that it's being released on the JRPG favorite Nintendo Switch, this may just be the breakout the series needs to attract a lot of new fans, myself included. I'm looking forward to checking this one out when it releases at the end of February. The next game we have up is Persona 5 Strikers. Persona 5 Strikers is a sequel to the original Persona 5 that takes place after the story events of that game. Gameplay-wise, Strikers is a combination of both Persona 5 and Dynasty Warriors, which I know some people will argue that doesn't make it a true RPG, but rather an action hack and slash. However, the developers have still said that it's a role-playing game at its core, and that it contains more RPG-like elements than other warrior style of games. The element-based weakness system the Persona series is known for is still intact even, so you know there's going to be some good strategy going on there at least. The setting and presentation of Persona 5 is really stylish and captivating to explore, especially in combination with the incredibly catchy music to really bring the environments to life. Needless to say, I'm pretty excited to dive back into the alluring streets of modern Tokyo when Strikers releases at the end of February. Coming up next, we have Edge of Eternity. Edge of Eternity is a tactical turn-based RPG taking place in a beautiful sci-fi fantasy alien world type setting. I'm a big sucker for these types of settings, as they kind of give me slight Star Ocean, Phantasy Star vibes. Combine this with a seemingly strategic turn-based battle system, and you got my full unwavering attention. To make it even better, legendary composer Yasunori Mitsuda of the famed Chrono series and many more even joined the team and is helping with the soundtrack of the game. If that's not enough to build confidence and hype around the game, then I don't know what is. Considering that it's being developed by an indie studio as well, I think that really says a lot about the vision of Edge of Eternity if they were able to get such a notable legend on board. While the game has been in early access for a couple years now, it's finally getting a completed full release sometime this spring. With everything that I've mentioned about it, I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out. The next game we have on our list is Nier Replicant version 1.224744871139. Yes, I'm really that extra and wanted to say the full title. I mean, it's there for a reason, right? Anyway, Nier Replicant version 1.2247448713. Nah, I'm just messing with you. I'll abbreviate it from now on. Is essentially an upgraded retelling of the original Nier, which came out for the Xbox 360 and PS3 back in 2010. Well, to be technical, the version we got in the West was Nier Gestalt, while Japan got Nier Replicant instead. The main difference is that Gestalt features a story with the father trying to save his daughter, whereas Replicant is about a brother trying to save his sister. Other than that, the games are pretty much the same. I guess they just figured the West would prefer an older, gritty, rugged hero as opposed to more of a younger, pretty boy that's popular in a lot of Japanese games. So with all that cleared up, this newest installment we're getting is an upgrade of the Replicant version, which was previously only released in Japan. While the original Nier received fairly average reviews upon release, it later went on to become a cult classic, greatly praised for its incredibly deep and complex story, and absolutely phenomenal soundtrack. If there was one main criticism of the game though, it was its pretty basic and repetitive combat. Fortunately, this new upgrade is implementing the combat of the sequel, Nier Automata, which had a really great battle system. I did play the original and thought it was an extremely memorable and emotional experience, so I can't wait to check out this enhanced version when it releases this April. Next up, we have Nioh: The World Ends With You. Nioh is a sequel to the original game, which initially came out for the Nintendo DS back in 2007. The games take place in the Tokyo district of Shibuya and feature a really unique art style and fun, action-based RPG combat. Aesthetically and audibly, Nioh certainly has some similarities to games like Persona 5, and is surely to interest fans of those type of settings. The combat in the first game was maybe one of the most divisive elements about it, as originally being developed for 2 screens on the DS, the controls could be a little weird to some. Being that Nioh is intentionally being designed for 1 screen this time, I'm interested to see how that affects the gameplay. I'm thinking it should be for the better, and trailers seem to give confidence to that notion so far. Gameplay aside, the story in the first game was very strong, and I'm sure Nioh will be no exception in that regard. As someone who's actually been to Shibuya in real life as well, I'm always really interested to see how games portray the area. With the style and flair as prominent as ever, this is definitely one I'm pretty excited to check out when it releases sometime this summer. Next on the list, we have Tales of Arise. Tales of Arise is the latest installment in Bandai Namco's beloved long-running action RPG series. The Tales series has always been praised for its fun gameplay, its memorable cast of characters, and really just the overall traditional JRPG experience they provide. Some of the more recent entries have started to branch away a bit from that OG formula though, and Tales of Arise looks to be the biggest shift the series has seen yet. The Tales of game's combat has always been a combination of completing complex combos, kinda like a fighting game, with more traditional RPG battle elements like healing, magic, and item management. For all the previous games, the battles have always took place on different screens. However, Arise seems to be going for more of a seamless, semi-open world approach to its gameplay, combat, and exploration. This may not please every fan of the series, but personally, I welcome the change and I'm gonna stay pretty open-minded about it, as honestly, I wasn't really the biggest fan of the last couple entries. Yes, even Berseria. Crucify me now if you want. I mean, it wasn't bad, it was just okay, I think. Anyway, I think this may just be the switch up the series needs to give it a fresh new start and really put it on the map again. While this doesn't have an official release date yet, 2021 seems pretty likely, and damn it, it better come out as it's my most anticipated release of the year. Here's to hoping it happens. Okay, for the last spot on the list, I'm actually gonna cheat and include 2 games here, which are Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne the Remaster. Shin Megami Tensei is Atlus's longest-running franchise and spawned off a lot of popular sub-series, including the ever-famous Persona games. While it's awesome that Persona has been doing so well lately, fans of the mainline games unfortunately haven't had as much content to look forward to. Some even feel they've been pushed to the side a bit due to the overwhelming success and popularity of the Persona series. Well, my SMT friends, this is your year to shine. Not only are we getting a brand new mainline release, but we're also getting a remaster of one of the better games in the entire SMT catalog. Honestly though, I am a little skeptical if we're actually going to get SMT5 this year or not, as we have sort of been kept in the dark about it so far, but I'm doing my best to hit that hopium and remain optimistic. Like I briefly mentioned, we don't really know a whole lot about this game yet, other than it seems to take place in Tokyo, and likely a post-apocalyptic version of it with demons and stuff. With that said, I think it's a pretty safe bet to assume we can expect challenging turn-based gameplay, complete with element exploitation, and an addicting demon fusion system. The odds are also favorable on pretty amazing music. Regardless, I'm really looking forward to playing it whenever it does come out, which hopefully is this year. The Nocturne remaster, on the other hand, we do know for sure is coming out this year. Basically everything I said about SMT5 applies to this one as well. The original Nocturne came out for the PS2 back in 2003 and was an extremely tough game. Like, super hard. Atlus obviously knows this, so to make it a little more friendly to newcomers of the series, they did add an option for an easier difficulty. Now for the purists, you don't have to do this, you can still play the game in its base form. It's just an option for those that may need it, that may not have played the game otherwise due to its difficulty. And hey, anything to bring more fans to the Shin Megami Tensei franchise is a plus in my book. That just means more games. Anyway, the Nocturne remaster releases sometime this spring, so be on the lookout. Before we end this video, like I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to do a brief list of honorable mentions to show some other quality JRPGs that are coming out this year. Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny is the latest installment in Nippon's long-running tactical RPG series. You can expect the same wacky humor the series is known for, addicting strategic gameplay, and absurdly high damage numbers. Atelier Ryza 2 Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy is a sequel to the popular original that helped bring a lot of attention to the series in the West. The games are best known for their lighthearted stories and atmosphere, the turn-based combat, the alchemy system, and the overall relaxing nature of the games. Digimon Survive is an upcoming strategy RPG based on the Digimon universe. We don't really know a lot about the game other than it features tactical gameplay and a group of teenagers getting lost in the Digimon world. Scarlet Nexus is an action RPG that takes place in a futuristic city with mutants and psychic powers. This stylish game is being developed by Bandai Namco and is coming out sometime in mid-2021. Chris Tales is a gorgeous turn-based RPG with a fairy tale type aesthetic and unique time-controlling gameplay. The element of time plays a factor in battles in some pretty creative ways, so I'm excited to see how it all plays out. This and Digimon Survive are probably the honorable mentions I'm looking forward to the most. Okay, now with those out of the way, that really does wrap up this video about 8 great JRPGs to look out for in 2021, plus like 5 honorable mentions. As you can see, there's a lot to look forward to this year, so I'm excited for what's to come. It may not be an absolute juggernaut of a year, but I think it's going to be respectable enough. How good of a year it is does depend on some key releases coming out or not, so fingers crossed. With that said, I'm sure there are some quality JRPGs that we didn't cover in this video, so if that's the case, leave a comment below and let us know what we should be looking out for. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe you could hit that like button, or even better, subscribe if you haven't already. It really means a lot. As always, links to our Patreon and Instagram are in our bio below. Other than that, hope you have an awesome day everyone. This is Gaming Productions. Until next time.